Right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. It's a Friday, again, it's the Easy Talk, and it's a full house. We've got the first lady of Cannon Fodder back, Charifa. We've got James Rowe, good friend out there in Amsterdam. Of course, Charifa's in Amsterdam as well. We've got LTL, the original Godfather, back on this wonderful channel. Guys, it's going to be a short show for various reasons, but we'll see you on this other side of this music and where we actually do the formal introductions. Yes, yes. So welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. It's the first season talk for a few weeks, as you well know. I was taking ill in my life myself, but I'm at 88% of the way. So yeah, I'm making my way back. But let's do the introductions first. Actually, Charifa, the first lady of Cannon Fodder TV. Charifa, how are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm really well. Yeah, nice to be here again.
Brilliant. I thank you for accepting the invitation. LTL, Richard Godfather, how are you?
Yeah, as the song says, I'm still crazy after all these years. So there you go.
All right, LTL. James, welcome back, James.
Yeah, nice to be back. I hope everybody's keeping well.
Yeah, we are indeed. So the first thing we actually want to talk about, again, it's going to be a short show for various reasons, was the game last night, Benfica versus Arsenal, and I predicted a draw. I said it's going to be either 1-1 or 2-2. And everyone on the live shows since I'll say probably Tuesday or Wednesday, we said, "No, Alex, it's going to be 3-1 to Arsenal. I know it's going to be 4-0 to Arsenal." Not so, Charifa. What's your thoughts on the game last night?
Well, I can understand why everyone was super excited after the Leeds game. And I do think that Arsenal had a decent game yesterday. Unfortunately, yeah, especially Aubameyang didn't finish the chances that there were. But I think that they were playing attacking. And yeah, I do think it was a decent game. It's just unfortunately that they left the chances.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see the first half. I saw maybe 5 minutes towards the end of the first half, and I saw the second half. I've seen some tweets about people saying or making a comparison between if it had been Lacazette who had missed those chances against Benfica. You know, a lot of people are doing a lot of negativity, but it appears because it's our talisman, Shree, for that. You know, it's okay, it's only all, but he'll bounce back. Do you think he's been like given a free pass so far, Aubameyang?
Can you say that again? I didn't hear you well.
Yeah, I said that people have been saying that if it had been Lacazette who'd missed those chances in the first half, you know, there'd have been like a war of negativity. But because it's Aubameyang, it's okay. It's only Aubameyang. Do you think he gets a free pass, Aubameyang?
Do you think so? I think the last few weeks, fans have been pretty harsh on Aubameyang. No, I think it's quite equal. It is true that I think the expectations from Aubameyang are a lot higher than from Lacazette because, yeah, for the last few seasons, he's played really well and Lacazette is still not really there. But I think, no, I wouldn't say that fans can be gave him a free pass. I think fans can be really rude, to be honest, quite often.
Yeah. James, your thought on the game last night, James? Actually, what did you predict the score would be, James?
1-1. 1-1.
Right.
I didn't put any money on that. Normally I put my maybe like a €2 bet or something, but yeah, I didn't do it yesterday. I wrote a piece for the Arsenal fan site Chronicles of a Gooner where I stated it would be 1-1, and for me, I think it was a missed opportunity last night, and I see so many similarities between last February's match away in Athens against Olympiacos, where everybody thought that the job was done and we'll get them back at our place and we'll win. And I think that I see so many similarities between that game and last night as well. And also the strangeness of the results. You know, young boys beaten by Leverkusen 4-3. You know, Rangers making hard work of Antwerp. Ajax winning in France, which I thought was unexpected. So especially in the knockout round, you're seeing some strange results, but also the also the scenarios. I mean, Sociedad lost 4-0 at home to Manchester United, and that game was played in Turin, but yet instead of San Sebastian, and yet Granada was playing at home to Napoli in Spain in Granada. So it's a very, very strange turn of events. And I do worry that ahead of the second leg, I think Benfica have got us in. I think they've got us where they want us. I think I managed to catch a tiny little bit of the press conference of the Benfica manager just this morning, but only a little bit. And I kind of got the impression that he kind of is quite happy with what he saw in terms of the position that the club are in. And they've also got some really good players. I know a lot of people spoke about the likes of Vertonghen and the likes of Otamendi, but I thought the Brazilian, they got Lucas Verissimo, who they signed from Santos. I think he's a very good player. And you see a lot of clubs now starting to exploit the South American market. And I think they've picked up quite a gem in Lucas Verissimo.
LTL, your thoughts and reflection on the game last night, Benfica? Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I did wonder when I noticed, obviously, after Aubameyang missed the first, normally he scores any second chance or third chance that comes his way, and it didn't. And he looked fed up, and it wasn't the same sort of happy-go-lucky face that we sort of normally see. Now, I'm just wondering whether or not a lot of things have come to a head. Obviously, his mum has been ill. And now you might have picked up there was some problem about him going off for a tattoo about 2 or 3 days ago. And the sort of club have dealt with it internally. So I presume he's had a dressing down and a telling off. And maybe the squad have all had to be tested again. Because the question is, did he go out of his house to have the tattoo? Or did the tattoo artist come in? And were they COVID safe? And all of that kind of stuff is going on. He's a guy who runs on his emotions. And I just wonder whether after he missed the first, which he should have taken with his left foot, and we don't often get him score goals with his left foot, and I just wonder whether that got to him and all the other things. And he certainly didn't look the player. In fact, Arteta took him off. So I think it was just a combination of things. But I do worry, as James quite rightly said, because I thought of it exactly at the time. This is very similar to the Olympiacos match where we thought, we're basically halfway there, more than halfway there. The second leg won't be easy, but we'll definitely get through it. And then it all fell apart suddenly back at the Emirates. So I think we've got a big job ahead. I noticed Darwin, who we've been looking at, a big centre forward guy, he played a decent game. So it's all to play for. And I hope that they start against Man City, they start resting some of the players because Xhaka looked quite poor. Maybe that I know Balogun isn't playing for the under-23s tonight, so maybe he's going to come on against City or something, or be on the bench. He's got to manage the squad now, and I don't think we'll try and throw the City game, but I think that's going to be of less importance now. I doubt if we'll get any higher than 8th in the league by the end of the season. So in terms of the match last night. Sometimes that happens in football, and that's what makes us watch it. We had so many chances. Apart from the last 20 minutes, we were the better team. But you know what? That's what keeps us watching the game, and let's hope we sort of go through in the second leg.
And actually, I know before we went live, I heard you talking about the game. But are there any advantages to be had? Because the first leg was in Rome. The second leg is going to be in Athens. So both first and second leg are on neutral ground. So could any of those two teams feel a real advantage, Charifa? Because the legs are on neutral ground. They're not home or away. So.
Well, I think with the COVID situation, the home advantage is not there anyway. At this moment, but I do think that it is a big difference for both teams to be in a total unknown situation. So it is definitely it has an impact.
And for you, James, do you feel there's any advantage? Both games are on neutral ground. Any advantage?
Well, one thing I find strange is both games are on neutral grounds, but away goals still count. I find that quite strange. And as I said a few seconds ago as well, that some ties are going ahead normally, both home and away on the grounds they're supposed to be played on, and others are not. And obviously we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and safety is the most important thing. But as me and Tel were speaking about before we came on air, you could have dealt with it in a way where you maybe even have one game, or you decide to have the one game on a neutral venue, or you draw like short straws as to whether it would be played, in our case, in Lisbon or London. But of course, with the restrictions in place by both countries, it could be quite difficult. But it is what it is. But we're in for a bumpy ride next Thursday, I think. And I think as well that for me personally, we've been in Europe since the 1996-97 season. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans have kind of taken Europe for granted. I mean, before COVID, I would often prioritise European games and fly back from Amsterdam to watch them, whether it was Ostersund's, whether it was Bati Borisov or Rennes or Napoli. And I got the impression that with some fans, if it's not Real Madrid, Barcelona or Bayern Munich, they're not interested. But, Benfica are a truly massive club, as are Olympiacos. If you do your homework and understand how big these teams are. I mean, I spoke to the striker of Benfica women, Chloe Lacasse, recently, and she was saying that even in the women's team of Benfica, it's only been going for 2 seasons, but yet they're so ambitious. They want to reach Champions Leagues within the women's game, and I think that filters down to all facets of the club. And I just think that some quarters of the fans have underestimated the size of the football club and the opponent we're playing, and hopefully they would have kind of been made a little bit aware of that last night.
Yeah. Can I say also that as well as Ober's missed chances, and Saka missed one as well, although he scored a wonderful goal, I think the match also turned on the penalty award. And I personally, I think this silly interpretation of the handball rule. It wasn't in when I first came to watch football. And if you look at that in slow motion, the Arsenal guy turned his back to Emile Smith Rowe, and it kind of hit his chest as he was turning, and then it bounced up into his hand. So in no way was he trying to handle the ball. It just actually ricocheted into his hand, and then the punishment is a penalty. Well, that's silly. It's just not in the spirit of the game. And again, that's what turned the game. We were playing so well, and then after that, I noticed that he's kind of head dropped for about the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, and we basically didn't have a captain, what I'd call a captain, who could put his arm round his shoulders, talk to him and say, "Put it behind you. Forget it, it's all over." Instead, he had to sort of carry on playing until he calmed down after it. So I still feel certainly in the next transfer window, we're going to have to find some people who act as captains. Not somebody who's
Shaka.
Not Shaka. No.
Well, I'm just saying literally that what I hear, the characters like David Luiz and Granit Xhaka, they're likable characters in the changing rooms. They're so popular, so they are captain material. But I'm not saying that. That's what I've heard. But yeah, not
Listen,
over captain.
Very sorry, I have to go. I think I said earlier, my daughter's running some sort of thing for her uni, a dance thing, Korean pop dancing. So from Arsenal to Korean pop music, eh? But she's running the sort of seminar show or something, or dance troupe thing. So I love you and leave you guys. And Alex, it's great to see you back on top form, man.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening, Nell, and we'll catch up. We'll catch up very, very soon. Take care. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So I think what we'll do, we'll go into the live chat and see who has joined us. Maybe we can respond to the live comments. I've got Arsenal for Life. Good evening, guys. And good evening, panel from the Assembled. And Des McLeod says, "Hi, Alex, Eltel, Charifa, James. Benfica didn't look like scoring until they got the penalty. I mean, I didn't see the first half. Is that what it looked like? That they weren't going to score until they got the penalty?"
I think a little bit could also be referred to as game plan. If you do a little bit of a background on their manager, you know, he did go from like swashbuckling in recent years, even when he was at Braga, to kind of being a lot more conservative. And I personally think it was just part of the game plan, really, to lull Arsenal into kind of like a sort of full sense of security. And I think they'll be quite confident going into the second leg. In all honesty.
Actually, I thought Emerson Rowe looked a little bit fatigued before he got taken off. It might be just maybe just the way his body language, but I do worry a little bit. He's only 19 years of age, I believe. And I'm just thinking, you know, for a youngster to play for the whole season, it's a long old season. I'm thinking, in my eyes, it should be Emerson Rowe playing and maybe substitute him on and put Martin Ødegaard on. I don't like to see both these youngsters playing out and being like burnt out. I'm not sure. What do you think, Charifa? Do you think Emerson Rowe?
That was the expectations, that Ødegaard was brought in to replace, or not to replace, to substitute Smith Rowe. So I was quite surprised to see them play together. But it does give a different dynamic, as in it seems to work. At least Arteta is quite happy with the setup. So I expect it to happen more often.
Yeah, I think Mikel has already spoken as well in regards to Saka on the Arsenal website, where he says literally it's going to be difficult for him to drop Saka. But I think with these youngsters, I think you've got to be very careful that you don't burn out. You know, as much as they're talented, you've got to manage the game time that they've been given. In a man's game, you know, a long old season, 38 games, not even including cup games. And again, I just thought Emerson looked a little bit fatigued before he got taken off. But nobody ever listens to me. Right. Got Dares who says, have you seen on the Arsenal YouTube where kids are interviewing Martin Ødegaard? It's cool. There was a question actually that came up yesterday on the live chat. People were talking about, you know, maybe we need to offer Martin a permanent contract. Well, hang on, he's only played like two full games for Arsenal, James. It's too soon to talk about offering him a permanent contract.
Well, maybe certain sections of the fans think that they can kind of like put pressure on the club to make those decisions. But if you have recently, in the case of Arsenal, received an 120 million pound loan, and then £2.5 million of that money is eaten up by the Ødegaard loan in the first instance, and then also you're paying his wages on top of that. I interviewed former Chelsea player David Lee today, who was also a scout at Arsenal. And I'll repeat what he said to me today about being a scout for Arsenal. I really enjoyed it. It's an amazing football club, and everything was going so well until we were made redundant. And it was made redundant, obviously, due to the decisions that Arsenal have made. And then you've got people advocating to extend contracts, to pay big wages, not thinking about behind the scenes at scout level, people that have signed contract extensions and then lose their job in the blink of an eye, and subsequently maybe get paid off, for example, or receive a sum. Not that I would know about that kind of ins and outs, but you know, obviously in a position of interviewing professional players and managers at all levels of world football, kind of my perspective is a little bit different than the rest. But I just think that some fans, again, it comes down to they want to prioritise price tag, clout and reputation above hard work and character. And we've got to kind of get back to the drawing board a little bit, where we're going to have to make some unpopular decisions in the summer. I mean, it'll be unpopular judging by Arsenal Twitter, for example. But you know, this isn't monopoly money. This is real money, and it's about making the right decision for the long-term health for the football club.
So James, actually on the back of that, we've been speaking about this week again, another topic. David Luiz, there is some talk about Arsenal offering David Luiz a contract extension. Would you give him a contract extension?
No, I wouldn't give him one, because if you do, if you do, what happens to Daniel Ballard and Mark McGuinness? What happens to young players? I spoke to a Dutch player, John Lammers. His nephew, Sam, plays for Atalanta. We spoke about his career and management earlier on this week. And he was telling me that even in football, professional players and professional managers make wrong decisions at different times in their careers. And in the case of Luis, he may well be experienced, but he can be clumsy at times. And if you've been capped for, I think, more than 75 times for the nation with the most pressure on its shoulders at international level, if you've played for massive clubs in Benfica and Paris Saint-Germain aren't big now, but they never used to be. But, you know, in terms of the pressure that comes with a club. But if Luis does sign a contract extension, what happens to Mark McGuinness and Daniel Ballard? Do one of them get sold? You know, are one of them going to drift off into the abyss and be known as an Arsenal player that goes on to play for Blackpool or Lincoln? Or, you know, we spend years training up our young players, and you put an awful lot of effort into it. As I say, it's not David Luiz. I think he's got it in his head that he's that. I wouldn't call it naive, but I would say it is a strange philosophy. I think he thinks that he can already pick and choose the end of his career, where he'll sign for Arsenal and have a contract extension, and then he'll return to Lisbon to play for Benfica again. You simply cannot plan a career. Timing is everything in football. The timing of a new manager coming in, new system. In terms of potential injuries. And I just think that we've got in Mark McGuinness and Daniel Ballard and also Zach Medley, we've got 3 excellent defenders there. If Luis signs a contract extension, what happens to one of those 3 players?
Yeah. And for you, Charifa, offer David Luiz a contract extension?
Not a big fan of David Luiz. I think
no, why?
Well, he does have the experience, and he's quite decent, but he's never like consistent. You can't rely on him. Like, he has a really good match. I think the last 2 matches were pretty decent, but then you don't know what's going to happen next. So he's not reliable. But I do think what you were saying before, right now, like the first team is a very young team. I do think David Luiz, his experience and his character, his personality, brings in some kind of balance within the team, like the youngsters and the more experienced players. So in that way, I can see his value to the team. And I did hear, as you said, that a lot of the players see in him some kind of a mentor offside the pitch. So maybe that is his value. I don't know. But I do think that if he would stay and like players come back from loan, like Saliba, it is worrying. Like, what is going to happen with them? Will there be a place? Like, he's so he would probably be preferred, and then those young players will still have to compete for their position, and we have seen what happens in that case. So maybe.
Mm-hmm. Actually, Sharif, before we go back into live chat, what would be your ideal the person, if you're looking at the defense, what would be your of the players who play for Arsenal, not thinking about, you know, if we had the money, if we could buy this defender, out of the crop of defenders now, what would be your best back 3 or back 4 players?
My best? Sorry, I hear you. Say it again.
Yeah, your best defense, you know, of the current crop of defenders we have at Arsenal. So what would be your best crop of the back 4 or back 3?
At this moment?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would put in Luiz at this point. Holding, not sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Just trying to pick your brains. All right. Okay. Let's go back in the live chat and let's see if we can wrap this one up. I think the away goal is going to be the difference, maybe. And like James, like you said, it's strange because they're neutral legs. So how can you still enforce that rule there?
I think it's trying to push through and enforce that the competition gets played. I think they're trying to push so many games into what you'd have in a normal calendar in a very strange time. And I think we'll see the brunt end of that, I think, at the European Championships, in all honesty.
Okay. I don't think we'll lose the return. Maybe 2-2 or 3-2 win, says the assembled. So many offsides for us when Martinelli touched the ball when he came on. Again, I didn't see too much of the game. Do you get the feeling Pepe is not in Arteta's future plans, Charifa?
I think that Pepe has not shown enough these 2 seasons. He doesn't seem like he's in favor of the manager. So unless he's going to show a lot the remaining of this season, I do worry for him, for his position.
Wow. Okay. Actually, before we go back into a live chat, James, you want to tell us any up and coming interviews that you've got up and running, about to be published?
It's we're coming up to quite a threshold. I'm only 3 away now from 300 interviews since 2016. So even though I can't celebrate in the normal style, it would be nice to go over such a threshold. And it's been a real bumper week with Dutch players playing here, and also English players as well. And everyone has a story to tell. Upcoming interviews will include a familiar face in Cohen Bramall, who made the transfer from Huddersfield Town to Arsenal not so long ago. Also Pat Nevin, who played for Scotland, and also Trevor Steven, who went to 2 World Cups with England and also played for arguably the biggest club in France, in Olympique Marseille. And his story in particular, because I really pushed him on his time about Marseille, and it was really interesting to hear about his, playing alongside Didier Deschamps and Chris Waddle and Jean-Pierre Papin. So really looking forward to those 3 in particular being released.
Brilliant. And of course, Charifa, you have your own YouTube channel. How is that? Where can people find you? First and foremost, where can they find you?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel, Arsenal SmallTalk. So it's basically a lot of small talks about Arsenal. You can find me on YouTube mainly. I don't do a lot of other social media. I try to upload once a week, and all the time, like I will upload it, or I will film it somewhere in Amsterdam, so that you do not only hear about Arsenal, but also have a nice view over the city Amsterdam.
Brilliant.
So I'll upload this week.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I always thought, Arsenal. I just get the feeling that whenever we talk about Arsenal, it's not small talk. There's a lot of talk about Arsenal, not small talk.
I'll keep it small. I'll try to keep it small.
All right. Okay. Bronze Dotter says, "Good evening, chaps and lady. I'm all for giving Arteta time. I think though Guendouzi, Martinelli, Nketiah, Willock, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and Nelson haven't progressed under Arteta. I think Emma Smith-Rowe would have played under Unai Emery earlier." Do you agree with that, James? The sentiments there?
He did play under Unai Emery.
Yeah.
One of the early memories I have of Smith-Rowe is going back to watch Arsenal versus Sporting Lisbon in November 2018. And it was a really physical Sporting Lisbon side. It wasn't the greatest game you'll ever see. It was a lot of bookings and a red card for Jeremy Mathieu, who played for Barcelona and in the past. And it was a real physical game, and he really stood up to it. Did really, really well. And that was when I kind of watched him, and I thought you've held your own in a good against a good European team that are really, they mean business. And then that he's kind of ready. And he went on loan to Huddersfield and was managed by Danny Cowley. And Danny Cowley's an excellent manager, and I'm sure he's learned a lot from Danny Cowley. So we've got a really good youth prospects, and it's about giving them the opportunity now to flourish. And just making sensible decisions. This isn't monopoly money. This isn't fantasy football. We've got a lot of hard work coming up in the summer because the league table doesn't lie, and we haven't won the league for since 2004, 17 years, you know. And I'm not saying we're going to win it in the next couple of years, but we've got to start to put things in place where we're going to be able to build to be able to do it. And you're not going to do that by signing 11 Aubameyangs full of an amazing price tag and an amazing reputation. We've got to get back into the small pieces of the jigsaw. Look at Leicester. You know, Son Jiku, Timothy Castagna, Mark Albrighton is also a tremendous player. You know, the little pieces in their puzzle mean they are where they are. So, if anything, we can maybe learn from them going forward a little bit.
Again, there's never play that divide. Not so much divides the fan base. Charifa, Willian. Your thoughts on Willian? Do you think he's going to feature in a long-term plan, or for Mikel Arteta? Do you think he's a dead cert?
Oh my God! I think we have talked about Willian before.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but he's giving a lot of playing time so far. We talked about that also. I don't understand why. But apparently there is something that Arteta sees in him that we don't see. So I have no idea. I would rather not. I'm not a fan of Willian, but he might. He's been given the time now, so it's a playing time. So could be.
Yeah, it's just strange for me. Cotton Ledez says, evening. We let Benfica into the game. Every VAR decision seems to be dodgy when it comes down to Arsenal. Thoughts, James?
Well, I think it's still very much interpretation, isn't it? And that's what a referee is. You know, it's an interpretation of the letter of the law. That's what it is. And I think what annoys people is when somebody's index finger is offside, or when somebody's big toe is offside. You know, I think that's what's annoyed a lot of people. But again, it comes down to interpretation. I am pleased to see more referees going to double check the monitor, though, because yes, you have an earpiece, and yes, you have the opinion of your fellow colleagues. But I think it's always just to be sure. I think it's good that more and more are checking the monitor. But you know, they opened up a huge can of worms with VAR, and you know, I don't think when this was all spoken about that people was. I never heard anyone say, "Oh, but if somebody's index finger is offside, then he's offside." I think people would have struggled to understand that. So, but you know, you can only hope that it gets better and more seamless over time, and we'll just have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to add anything on that, Charifa, about VAR?
Well, before VAR, we all wanted it. Every fan was begging for it to come into the game, but I do think they're taking it way too far now. It's becoming a very, like, how do you say that in English? Like they are measuring it so precise that you can't, as a football player, you can't participate on that because you're just playing your game and you're not thinking about where your left foot is heading or so I think it is changing the game also because of that, but I do not think it is specifically only on Arsenal games, because I think it's just in general.
Yeah, and actually you can see now the strikers now, they kind of hold back from celebrating because they're not sure whether it's going to be reviewed, and
that's sad.
It's not a natural reaction, is it? It's like, okay, let's go for VR, and then I can wait and see they verified it. I actually have scored, but it's new technology. It's new to football. I mean, in rugby and all the other sport, tennis, the technology has been there for the longest time. But with football, it's still got a lot of teething problems. Mm-hmm. All right. That says, I've worked it out. If Willian got a haircut, he will run. He's top heavy, so he can't run. Well, I prefer if he didn't play for Arsenal, but that's just me. Lewis always makes mistakes.
He's still on a 3-year deal, though.
Yeah. I mean, is there any way that we can deal. But but James, is there any way that Chelsea would take him back? Would it take him back? No.
No. No, but again, if Chelsea, they're not silly. They didn't offer him what he wanted, and that was an extra year on his contract, and Arsenal did. And you wonder if he's obviously loves the London life. But I think it's very naive of certain players like David Luiz to think that you can plan a career, because I've spoken to enough where 1 minute you're flying high, the next minute an injury occurs, and many players, when they suffer a huge injury, for example, they're never the same. Never, whether it be a leg break or Achilles or a cruciate injury, it's never the same.
Yeah. Levan J, good evening, says, even Alex, James and Charifa, hope you're all well. I think Louise is good in the dressing room, and it seems like a leader off the pitch. And sometimes on the pitch, 1 year extension is okay, I think. Well, I've been saying this week, he talks the talk in the dressing rooms, but does he walk the walk on the pitch? And for me, not so. Not so. He's not a favourite of mine. Let's have a look here. Right. So Des is coming with his preferred, his best defence. Cedric, Gabriel, Pablo Mari, and Kieran Tierney. No William Saliba. Well. Colin Young says, oh, yay, James, Charifa, and Alex. This is going to be the best show. Well, one of the best shows. One of the best shows on Canon Fodder TV family. Thank you for that. I've got Ian Barrow, who says, hi, Canon Fodder TV. It's the Mad Dario fan back. I hope you're all well. Darlington's season has been null and void with immediate effect heartbroken. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I forgot you're a Darlington fan. Lower league. Who else do we have here? Charifa, here's one for you, Charifa. For Levan J, says, Charifa, I have subscribed to Arsenal SmallTalk. A lot of talk.
That's great, Levan. Thank you.
All right. And Ian Barrow also says, hi, Charifa. And I think one more. Ian says, Willian must make a good cup of tea. Well, not for me. Not for me, thank you. Not for me. All right, I think we've come to an end. I know James has got to fly up onto another podcast once we're done here, and that is it. It's been like almost like a 14-minute show, a bite-sized version. James, you remember back in the days, to do bite-sized versions of the Easy Talk, and this has been a bite-sized version of the Easy Talk.
Yeah,
Charifa, I want to say a big really thank you to you, the first lady of Canon Fodder TV, coming back for a second time. Guys, make sure you go over and subscribe to Arsenal. Big talk, a lot of talk, small talk.
Thank you again for inviting me. It was great.
All right. We will leave the link for Charifa's YouTube channel, and we'll also leave the link for James Rowe's Twitter handle, which is James Rowe NL. Oh, what is it, James? Tell me.
NL, that's the one. NL. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I hope you guys enjoyed this shorter version of the Easy Talk. I'll be back tomorrow morning, giving some more live news right here on Canon Fodder TV. And if you're wondering what is this channel, well, it's Canon Fodder, isn't it? Yeah, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. Thank you to my guests. Eltel was on early on, but he had to fly off for a various reason, but I'm going to get into the details. Thank you to my wonderful guests as usual, and I shall see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. at UK time. Until then, adios.